Chosen one. Listen carefully, heaven has interrupted your timeline. The moment your finger hovered over this message, eternity paused to whisper, "This one is mine." You may think you stumbled here by accident, but divine appointments never wear the mask of coincidence. This is the divine interruption your spirit has been craving, the one that changes everything. You've felt it, haven't you? That holy pull, that stirring inside you that refuses to be silenced. You have scrolled past countless words before, but something about these right now, in this exact moment, feels different. It feels heavier, brighter, sharper. That's because heaven is leaning close. The unseen realm has gone quiet to hear your answer. You are not ordinary. You were never made to blend in. You've always been the one who sees differently, who feels more deeply, who endures what others could not survive. Every strange turn in your life was a breadcrumb on a divine trail. You've been set apart not because you were better, but because you were chosen. And when God chooses someone, everything around them begins to shift. The winds change direction. The ground beneath their feet becomes holy. Even silence becomes a language heaven speaks through. This is that silence breaking now. This is your wake-up call from eternity. The voice of God thundered through generations, and now it thunders through your soul. It's time. The battles you faced, the nights you cried, the seasons that stripped everything from you, they were not punishments. They were preparation. Heaven was sharpening you, refining you, turning your pain into prophecy. There were moments you asked, "Why me but now, chosen one?" Heaven answers, because you carry something sacred. The storm you barely survived was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to prove what you're made of. The darkness attacked you so violently because it saw your future light before you did. According to what is revealed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on eagle's wings, run, not grow weary." Do you feel that the word itself breathes? Your weary heart begins to lift even as you read. You were not meant to crawl through this season, you were designed to soar. The pain did not bury you, it planted you. The weakness you thought disqualified you was actually making room for supernatural strength. Look at your life for a moment. How many times have you survived what should have destroyed you? How many times did you stand when others fell? That wasn't luck, it was preservation. You've been protected for purpose. Heaven has been guarding you because your time had not yet come. But now the signal has been sent. Rise, chosen one. This message isn't here to entertain you, it's here to awaken you. You've spent too long doubting your anointing, shrinking to fit into spaces too small for your calling. But God didn't form you for comfort. He formed you for collision with destiny, with faith, with fire. You are a disruptor of darkness. Your presence carries weight. You can almost feel heaven's electricity right now, can't you? That's because this is no ordinary word. The Spirit moves through these sentences, drawing you closer. You've been marked for a mission. The reason people walked away, the reason doors closed, the reason you've been hidden, it was divine concealment, not rejection. God hides his greatest treasures until the appointed time. And this is your appointed time. Lift your eyes, wipe the doubt from your heart, stand taller. Heaven is calling your name in front of the angels. The ones who mocked you will witness your rise. The pain that crushed you will become the oil that anoints you. You are about to step into divine acceleration, where years of waiting will be redeemed in moments. But first, there must be surrender. You can't soar while holding the weight of fear. Release it now. Let go of every voice that told you you're not enough. Let go of the guilt that whispers you've missed your chance. If you're still breathing, heaven is still building. God wastes nothing, not even your brokenness. Chosen one, this is your altar moment, right where you are. Heaven has entered your room, your timeline, your space. You don't need a church building, your heart is the temple. And right now, it is on fire. Before you leave this sacred moment, seal it. Do something prophetic, something that shows heaven you've heard the call. Like this message. Share it with someone who's losing faith. And comment below the number 111, symbolizing divine alignment and new beginnings. And if you haven't yet, subscribe not to a channel, but to the movement of heaven unfolding in you. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of the chapter heaven waited for. You have been interrupted by destiny itself. Rise, breathe, believe. Your wings are ready. You were never ordinary. Deep down, you have always known it. Even as a child, you felt the pulse of something different inside you, an invisible rhythm that didn't match the world around you. You tried to hide it, to quiet it, to fit into the molds others offered. But the light within you refused to shrink. Every time you tried to blend in, something inside whispered, "This is not who you are." The truth is, heaven placed something extraordinary within you long before you took your first breath. There was a divine intention written into your DNA, a purpose that could not be erased by time, mistakes, or the opinions of others. The world may have labeled you too much or too sensitive, but what they called weakness, heaven calls sensitivity to the spirit. That ability to feel deeply, to notice what others ignore, it is not a flaw. It is evidence of divine design. You have carried burdens others couldn't understand. You have walked through storms that would have broken lesser souls. But you endured, not because you were strong on your own, but because the hand of the Almighty never left your shoulder. There were moments you thought you'd lost your way, but you were only being led through holy detours. There were seasons when you questioned everything: your worth, your direction, your faith. You wondered why your prayers seemed to echo back in silence. Yet even in those quiet nights, heaven was working behind the veil. You were being stretched so your capacity could grow. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you to the nations." Let those words sink into your spirit. Before the noise of life began, before failure or fear could touch you, God knew you. Not in the distant sense of awareness, but in the intimate sense of authorship. He wrote you into history with purpose. You are not an accident, you are an assignment. Every gift you carry, every sensitivity you thought made you strange, is part of that assignment. The way you see the world differently, the way you feel the pain of others, the way you crave deeper meaning, it's all intentional. Heaven designed you as a bridge, a living vessel through which divine compassion can flow into a hurting world. And yet, being chosen has always carried a price. The world doesn't easily accept what it doesn't understand. Many turned their backs on you not because you were wrong, but because your light revealed what they weren't ready to confront. People are often uncomfortable around the chosen, for your presence reminds them of what they've ignored within themselves. Still, you must not dim to make others comfortable. You cannot walk as though you are ordinary when heaven has written set apart over your soul. You may feel lonely, misunderstood, or unseen, but that isolation is not punishment, it's protection. God separates before He elevates. The hidden years are not wasted, they are sacred. That's where He strengthens the foundation, where He whispers identity into the marrow of your being. If you listen closely, you can almost hear Him now, soft, steady. "Certain I have called you by name, you are mine." That's why the storms didn't break you. That's why the betrayal couldn't stop you, because even in your weakest moments, the call of God never left. Do not mistake quiet seasons for abandonment. Do not confuse delay with denial. The chosen often walk through the wilderness first so they can lead others out later. You are being prepared for something far greater than survival. You're being prepared for impact. The strength rising in you now is not new. It is simply awakening. It was buried under years of doubt and disappointment, but it never died. Every scar you carry is proof of resurrection power. Every tear was counted, every ache recorded in heaven's book. And now, those tears are turning into oil, the same oil that will heal others when you speak, when you pray, when you move in obedience. So stand tall, even in your unfinishedness. Don't rush what God is still refining. You don't need to chase validation when heaven already confirmed you. The world may not yet see the fullness of what's inside you, but soon they will. For light cannot stay hidden forever, it demands to shine. The time of self-doubt ends here. You were never meant to imitate others. You were meant to illuminate. Your story is your ministry. Your wounds are your wisdom. Your journey is the evidence that grace still works miracles in human form. Every sleepless night, every tear shed in secret, every moment you felt unseen, none of it was wasted. The hidden battles you fought were not random. They were rehearsals for revelation. What tried to break you only awakened something fierce within you. You've been through valleys that felt endless, storms that had no mercy, yet somehow, you are still here, and not just standing, you are transforming. The world saw your breakdowns, but heaven saw your becoming. Every attack was permitted only to reveal how unshakable your spirit truly is. You didn't just survive the storm, you learned its language. You began to discern when winds shifted, when energy changed, when something unseen was trying to pull you down. That's the mark of the chosen, spiritual awareness sharpened through pain. You may not have realized it then, but you were training for spiritual warfare. Every tear became a sword. Every disappointment became armor. The moments you questioned God were the very moments He was closest, molding your endurance into divine authority. You were being sculpted in silence, prepared for a moment when your voice would carry weight. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Those words are not just poetry. They are prophecy over your life. Yes, you wept. Yes, you were crushed. But the morning is here, and joy has found your address. The enemy thought he buried you, but he only planted a seed, and what grows from that seed will shake nations. There is a unique kind of anointing that only comes from pain. Those who have never been broken can speak about God, but those who have walked through fire speak with Him. You, chosen one, have been in the fire. You have faced nights where heaven seemed silent and hope felt thin. But that silence was not abandonment, it was strategy. God was teaching you to hear the whisper, not the shout. You began to notice that every heartbreak cleared space for something holier. Every closed door redirected you towards something divine. Even rejection was redirection. The people who walked away did not disqualify you, they freed you from distractions that could not travel where you're going. You thought their departure was loss, but heaven calls it pruning. Look at you now. You are softer yet stronger, wiser yet humbler. That's the paradox of the chosen, broken but still radiant. You walk with quiet authority because you've been in places where only grace could sustain you. You are not bitter. You are seasoned. You are not angry. You are anointed. You may still carry scars, but those scars preach sermons. They say, I've seen darkness. and I still choose light. They say, I've been crushed, but I did not crumble. They testify that you are more than your wounds. You are the witness of God's faithfulness. Sometimes you wonder if anyone truly understands what you've endured. The truth is, not everyone can. Your path is not meant to be relatable, it's meant to be revelatory. You are walking a blueprint few can interpret because you are building something heaven has never released through another. Your pain has produced wisdom that will one day rescue others. You'll speak, and hearts will heal. You'll walk into rooms, and atmospheres will shift. This is why the enemy has fought you so hard. Darkness recognizes light before the light recognizes itself, but now you see. Now you understand. The opposition wasn't proof that you were weak. It was confirmation that you were chosen. You've learned to thank God even for the things that hurt you, because those very things birthed your power. The old version of you would have broken under the pressure. But the new you, the one refined by trials, that version carries unshakable peace. You are no longer afraid of storms. You've become one. The time has come to turn your private battles into public testimonies. What once made you silent will now make you loud. The world needs your story, not the polished version, but the raw one, the real one. Because somewhere out there, another soul is weeping through their own night, waiting to hear that joy truly comes in the morning. So, chosen one, speak, write, sing, create, move. Let your pain become prophecy. Let your tears become teaching. Don't hide your healing, it is someone else's key. You are not a victim of what happened to you. You are a vessel of what heaven is doing through you. Now, as you breathe this in, let your spirit agree with heaven's truth. Comment below these 4 words, I rise again. Say it as a declaration. You're not just typing words, you're releasing a decree. You are testifying that your night is ended, that your joy has arrived. Each letter carries spiritual power because faith becomes visible when it's expressed. So when you comment it, do it with authority. Let heaven see your agreement. Let darkness know you refuse to stay buried, because this is not just recovery, this is resurrection. When the silence came, it terrified you. You prayed, but no answer came. You cried out to heaven, and all you heard was the echo of your own voice. It was in that quiet that you began to question everything. Was God still listening? Was he still near, or had he turned away and left you in the wilderness to wander alone? But, chosen one, hear this truth: silence is not absence. The stillness you walked through was not punishment, it was preparation. When God seems quiet, it means he is building something that words cannot yet explain. You see, when heaven hides its voice, it sharpens your hearing. The noise of the world begins to fade, and what remains is the steady heartbeat of divine purpose. In those lonely hours, you were being trained to listen differently, to sense, to discern, to perceive. God was not ignoring you. He was tuning you. You were being recalibrated to recognize his whisper, not just his thunder. You were being drawn away from the crowd's chaos into the solitude of revelation. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Elijah in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. That gentle whisper is where you find him. The world looks for God in explosions and spectacle, but you have learned that his presence often comes softly. You've discovered the holiness in quiet moments, in the pause between your questions, in the breath between your sobs. That's where he meets you, inside stillness that the noise cannot touch. The wilderness you endured was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to detox your soul. You had been surrounded by too many voices, too many opinions, too many distractions pulling you in directions God never ordained. So he led you into solitude, into silence, into what felt like isolation but was actually intimacy. He stripped away what was loud so you could finally hear what was lasting. And in that quiet, something changed. Your prayers became less about begging for answers and more about surrendering control. You stopped trying to fix everything and started trusting the one who already holds everything. You began to understand that faith isn't about hearing constant confirmation. It's about believing even when nothing is being said. In the wilderness, you began to see yourself differently too. You realized that the silence was shaping you, chiseling away what was fragile and revealing what was eternal. You started noticing signs in small things, a sunrise that felt like reassurance, a song lyric that felt like an answer, a moment of peace in the middle of chaos. Those weren't coincidences. They were the language of heaven speaking softly, reminding you that you were never alone. The voice of God is often quiet because he desires closeness. If he shouted, everyone would hear. But when he whispers, it means he is near enough for you to feel his breath. That is the intimacy of the chosen. While others chase miracles, you are being taught the miracle of presence, how to sit in stillness and know that he is God. There's a sacred strength that comes from the wilderness. Those who have walked through silence emerge with unshakable confidence. They no longer panic when heaven pauses because they understand the rhythm of divine timing. You are learning that rhythm now. You no longer rush when the world does. You no longer need external noise to confirm internal truth. You've learned to rest in uncertainty. You've learned that answers delayed are not answers denied. The silence that once frightened you has now become your sanctuary. You no longer fear it. You crave it. Because in that quiet, you find clarity that chaos could never give. The wilderness made you wise. It taught you that sometimes God hides to reveal. It showed you that power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's wrapped in stillness. The prophets of old understood this mystery, how the voice of God often comes wrapped in the gentleness of a whisper, speaking volumes without raising its tone. And now, you are one of them, a modern-day listener of whispers, a carrier of sacred stillness. You walk differently now. You speak with a calm authority that only those who've heard heaven's hush can understand. You don't chase attention, you carry presence. You don't need to prove your calling, you've heard it in the quiet. When you step into rooms, you bring peace. People feel it before you speak because silence has become your teacher. You no longer fight the stillness, you flow with it. You've learned that when God seems quiet, he's actually closest, preparing the next movement in your destiny. So do not fear the pauses. Do not despise the waiting. The wilderness is not a detour, it's a doorway. And when you finally emerge from it, your voice will carry the tone of heaven itself, steady, clear, and filled with power. Chosen one. Cherish the silence. It is not emptiness. It is God whispering, "Be still, and know that I am here." The veil is lifting now. You are beginning to recognize what all of this has been leading to. The storms, the silences, the strange seasons, they were not random fragments of chaos. They were puzzle pieces aligning into divine purpose. Heaven has been weaving something in the unseen, and now it begins to take form before your very eyes. You are stepping into awareness. The fog is clearing, and revelation is rising like dawn. You sense that heaven has been watching, waiting for this precise moment, waiting for your heart to finally whisper. Yes, this moment is not ordinary. Chosen one. It's like the instant before sunrise when the world still holds its breath. Heaven leans close, light presses against the edge of the horizon, and creation whispers, "It's time." The angels have watched your journey, the endurance, the heartbreak, the resilience, and now they prepare to rejoice. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 30. And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified. Can you feel it? You have been called. You have been justified. And now heaven says it's time to be glorified. You've walked through valleys that smelled of death. You've sat beneath heavy skies and asked if the sun would ever rise again. And yet, through it all, something divine within you refused to die. That is glory forming in secret. That is the eternal seed awakening under pressure. God never wastes the wait. Every tear has watered the soil of your purpose. Every moment of despair was breaking open a deeper well of compassion within you. The pain didn't harden you, it made you holy. And now, the moment of recognition arrives. You are beginning to see yourself as heaven sees you. The crown that once seemed far away now fits perfectly upon your spirit. You are royalty learning to remember. Beloved, as this truth settles, take a breath. Let your spirit feel the warmth of divine affirmation washing over you. You are not striving for approval, you already have it. You are not begging for love, you are love in motion, chosen to carry heaven's fragrance into a weary world. If this message has reached your soul, let it stir something gentle yet powerful inside you. Let it awaken a wave of gratitude, not for me, but for the one who orchestrated this meeting. You didn't find this message, it found you, because heaven knew you were ready to hear it. When light touches your life like this, it's natural to respond. Every time someone witnesses divine truth, something in them wants to move, whether in worship, in giving, in gratitude. It's the same impulse that makes flowers open to the morning sun. They don't do it because they're told to. They do it because the light compels them. In the same way, if your heart feels moved, let it express that light. Like this message as a small act of recognition. Share it so someone else wandering in darkness might find their dawn. If you feel the Spirit urging you to go deeper, subscribe not for numbers or noise, but as a personal declaration, I will not go back to sleep. And if your heart overflows and you wish to plant a seed back into the ground that has fed you, consider a donation not as a transaction, but as a sacred exchange. It is the same principle found in nature. What you water grows. When you sow into light, you multiply light. It keeps the message alive, reaching the unseen hearts waiting for their awakening. But let your giving, whatever form it takes, be pure, joyful, free. Heaven does not force generosity, it flows through it. The act itself becomes worship, a quiet whisper that says, "Thank you for trusting me with truth. You are part of something far greater than a moment on a screen. You are part of a movement of souls awakening together. Imagine a field of candles, one by one, being lit until darkness cannot comprehend where it ends. That is what happens when you engage, when you share, when you give. Your single light joins a constellation that guides others home. Chosen one. This is what recognition feels like, the moment when you realize heaven didn't just choose you for survival, but for significance. Every breath now carries purpose. Every action now echoes eternity. You are not waiting for revival, you are revival walking. Heaven has whispered your name before angels. Your agreement, your yes, is the key that unlocks generations of blessing. The wait is over. The veil is torn. The dawn has come. Now, Let the world see the glory you were always meant to reveal. The Spirit is moving again, this time not as a whisper, but as a wind. It shakes the dust from the corners of your spirit, stirring something ancient that has slept too long. You can feel it, can't you? The divine alarm clock has rung. The season of delay is over, and the time to awaken has arrived. For so long, you have felt suspended between what was and what could be, stuck in a place where promise and patience wrestle. You've waited for confirmation, for open doors, for signs that heaven still remembers you, but chosen one. Hear this: the waiting was never wasted. Heaven's silence was your setup, and now the call to move resounds like thunder in your bones. It begins with a stirring, small at first, like ripples in still water. But soon the ripples grow into waves, and those waves become the sound of destiny itself. Everything that once felt dormant is being resurrected. Every prayer you thought went unanswered is now returning with power. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, declares the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace. Can you sense it? The greater glory isn't coming to you, it's rising from you. The old you was built for survival, but the new you is being built for dominion. You are no longer walking through the ruins of what was, you are becoming the temple of what will be. Heaven's architecture is shifting inside your spirit. The walls of fear are coming down. The windows of understanding are being opened. The foundations of faith are being strengthened. It's not just about believing anymore, it's about becoming. You are crossing from waiting to walking, from hoping to holding. The clock of heaven has struck your hour. The delay you once cursed will soon become your greatest testimony, because in the waiting, your roots grew deep, and what grows deep cannot be shaken. But with awakening comes responsibility. When God calls your name, He expects your answer. When He stirs your spirit, He expects movement. This is the moment when obedience outweighs comfort. The ones who hesitate lose what heaven is trying to hand them. That's why this message found you now, because you're ready to act, not just to listen. You can almost feel the urgency in the air. It's as if heaven has paused to watch how you'll respond. Will you stay in the shadows of hesitation, or will you rise into the light of purpose? You've already felt the signs: the sudden restlessness, the inner pull, the divine interruptions that keep calling your name. This is not coincidence. This is a summons. You are being awakened, not just for yourself, but for others. There are people connected to your obedience, destinies that will not unfold until you step forward. That's why your awakening matters so deeply, Nandu. When you rise, others find courage to rise too. When you obey, chains on unseen souls begin to break. So, what do you do when heaven calls you by name? You respond, you act. You declare your yes publicly, boldly, prophetically. You mark this moment so the spiritual world recognizes your shift. Right now, type the number 888 in the comments. Not as a ritual, but as a prophetic act. The number 8 represents new beginnings, and this 888 is heaven's signature of abundance, alignment, and resurrection. When you write it, you are testifying that your old season is complete, that you are stepping into divine renewal. You are saying, I am awake, I am ready, I will move. There is power in prophetic response. It's not superstition, it's spiritual agreement. Every word, every symbol you release in faith becomes a key in the unseen. The act of typing that number may seem small, but it carries the weight of obedience. It is a declaration to heaven and a defiance to hell. As you do it, something shifts. You can feel your spirit exhale. The heaviness that clung to your shoulders begins to lift. You realize you've spent too long apologizing for your calling, too long shrinking so others wouldn't feel small beside you. No more. This is your time to stand unapologetically in light. Chosen one, when God awakens you, He doesn't call you to convenience. He calls you to courage. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is stirring within you now. You may feel unready, but heaven never calls the equipped. It equips the called. And you are called. You are called to bring hope where there has been despair. You are called to speak truth in a world addicted to noise. You are called to carry peace into chaos, to love when others curse, to stand firm when fear whispers. You are not just waking up, you are becoming a living announcement that the light still wins. The divine alarm clock rings only for those heaven trusts. And today, it rang for you. This is your moment to step out of waiting and into walking, to leave behind hesitation and move in holy confidence. Let the number you typed echo through eternity, a simple mark that says, "I heard, and I answered." You are awake now, and once awakened, the chosen never returned to sleep. The weight you carried was never random. It was not the result of bad luck or cosmic cruelty. Every burden that pressed against your shoulders was allowed with purpose. You have carried invisible loads, responsibility, empathy, calling that others could never have borne. That heaviness you felt your whole life is not weakness, it is sacred assignment. Heaven placed it on you because you were trusted to hold it. You didn't ask for this kind of depth. You didn't volunteer for sleepless nights, for compassion that breaks your heart, for an awareness that feels too much, yet still, it has followed you, this strange mix of strength and sorrow, of spiritual sensitivity and human fatigue. But, chosen one, what has felt like a curse has been preparation for divine authority. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. That is what has been happening to you all along. Every heavy thing you have carried was being exchanged in heaven's unseen court. The ashes you mourned were becoming oil. The mourning you endured was preparing a melody. The garments of despair you once wore are being replaced with praise. For years, you asked, "Why me?" You didn't understand why others could live freely, lightly, carelessly while you carried an invisible cross that made you different. You watched people walk away when life got hard, yet something inside you refused to quit. That something was your anointing. It kept you upright when your flesh wanted to fall. It whispered, "Hold on, there's more." The chosen are rarely allowed to live lightly because they are called to carry weight for others. You've interceded for people who never knew it. You've stood in the gap when no one thanked you. You've prayed tears no one saw. Heaven saw. Heaven recorded. Heaven remembers. Every burden is a seed. Every season of heaviness produces a harvest of authority. The empathy that wears you down today will one day empower your voice to heal others. You will speak, and people will feel peace because they sense you've walked where they are walking. The world doesn't need polished perfection, it needs those who have bled and still believe. There is a mystery in carrying weight. It teaches you endurance. It stretches your capacity. It turns your heart into a sanctuary. When you carry something sacred, you begin to understand God's heartbeat more clearly. You no longer see pain as punishment. You see it as partnership. You begin to recognize the holy in the heavy. Even Jesus carried weight, physical, emotional, spiritual. The cross was the greatest symbol of burden, but also of redemption. And when he carried it, he wasn't being punished, he was fulfilling purpose. The same principle applies to you. What you've been carrying is not your end, it's your evidence. Think back to the moments when the weight felt unbearable. Remember how you thought you would collapse, yet somehow you kept moving. That's divine endurance. You were never meant to carry it alone. God has been your unseen strength. The same hands that formed the mountains have been under your shoulders this whole time. The heaviness was building your spiritual muscles. Authority doesn't come from comfort. It comes from endurance. The people who will listen to you tomorrow are the ones who will trust you because you've walked through what they're walking through now. Your story will be the bridge that carries them over. But there's something else. Something the enemy doesn't want you to realize. The weight wasn't just molding you. It was multiplying your reach. The more pressure you endured, the deeper your roots grew. The deeper the roots, the greater the fruit. What others mistook for struggle was God enlarging your foundation. He was preparing you for elevation. You will notice that after every crushing, your vision becomes clearer. After every heartbreak, your compassion grows wider. The things that once broke you now fuel you. You've learned to breathe even when the air feels heavy. You've learned to worship even when tears blur your vision. You've learned that pain can be holy if you hand it back to heaven. And now, a shift is happening. You are moving from carrying burdens to carrying blessing. The same shoulders that held sorrow will now hold crowns. The same hands that trembled in pain will soon lift others in praise. You were not meant to remain bowed beneath the weight. You were meant to rise carrying glory. Heaven is releasing a great exchange in your life. Where you felt drained, fresh oil flows. Where you felt overlooked, divine favor finds you. The heaviness you once resented becomes the mantle of authority that rests on your life. This is the beauty of divine transformation. What once crushed you now crowns you. So breathe deeply, chosen one. The weight is shifting. You are no longer carrying it alone. Every tear you shed has watered your anointing. Every ache you endured has built your spiritual strength. You are standing at the threshold of divine exchange, the trade of ashes for beauty, of burden for blessing. You have carried long enough. Now heaven carries you. You can feel it. Something unseen has begun to stir around you. It's not imagination, it's recognition. Heaven has sounded your name, and the enemy has heard it too. Every trembling of your spirit, every restless night lately, has been the echo of a shift in the unseen realm. Darkness has realized what you are becoming, and it is afraid. This is why the attacks have felt heavier. The closer you draw to breakthrough, the louder the resistance becomes. You are not being punished. You are being targeted because of the light that's awakening inside you. You've always carried it, that radiant spark that unnerves everything false, but now it's beginning to shine in full strength, and hell can't ignore it. The Word of God declares in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." The panic of darkness is real, because when a chosen one awakens, hell trembles. You have become a threat simply by being aware of who you are. Your worship has become warfare. Your endurance has become defiance. Every time you choose peace over panic, every time you forgive when you could curse, every time you rise when you should have fallen, you win battles unseen by the world but celebrated in heaven. There is no greater threat to the kingdom of darkness than a believer who knows their identity. For so long, the enemy's goal was to keep you confused, to make you believe you were powerless, forgotten, unworthy. But the veil has been torn, and truth has broken through. You are realizing now that authority flows not from perfection but from connection. You are connected to the living God, and that connection cannot be severed by any force of darkness. That's why the spiritual atmosphere shifts when you pray. That's why chaos erupts before calm. You have been wondering why things suddenly became harder once you started seeking God more. It's because light exposes what darkness had hoped to keep hidden. You're not losing ground, you're shaking foundations. The enemy is panicking because he knows what's written when the light rises. Darkness must flee. Your presence alone disrupts patterns of despair. Your prayers reroute destinies. You may feel small in this world, but in the spirit realm, your name carries weight. The moment you speak in faith, heaven responds, and the adversary trembles. Do not be surprised by sudden warfare. The moment you recognize who you are, the enemy recognizes who he can no longer deceive. He will try to whisper lies telling you you're tired, that it's too late, that your faith isn't working. Those whispers are not truth. They are fear speaking through illusion. You were born for this. You carry authority not because you have never fallen, but because you have risen again and again. Your scars have become your armor. The very places where you were once wounded now shine with glory. The fire you walked through did not consume you, it consecrated you. You are no longer a victim of warfare. You are a weapon of heaven. Every tear you've cried has been transformed into light. Every why you've whispered in pain is now an arrow of revelation in your hands. When the enemy looks at you now, he sees what heaven has built: steel where there used to be weakness, wisdom where there used to be confusion. You have become a living testimony that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And it's not because you are untouched by struggle, it's because you are unbreakable through it. Even your atmosphere has changed. People around you may not understand why they feel peace in your presence, but it's because light radiates from you now. You carry it without trying, effortlessly disrupting what is dark and heavy. This is what spiritual authority looks like. It's quiet, steady, immovable. Do not let fear make you forget your position. You are seated in victory. The storm around you does not determine your stability. The shaking of the world cannot shake the one who is anchored in eternity. Even as opposition rises, remember, every wave that crashes against you only proves that you have become immovable. Heaven has armed you with discernment. You can now see beyond surface conflict into spiritual truth. When anger rises, you recognize the spirit behind it. When confusion comes, you pause, pray, and peace returns. You are learning to rule, not react. This is the mark of those trained in divine warfare. Chosen one, don't be dismayed by the noise. The enemy's panic is the sound of your coming victory. Every struggle is announcing your promotion. You are stepping into a level of authority you were born to carry. The light within you cannot be extinguished. It was lit by the breath of God Himself. Something inside you has shifted. You can sense it even before the evidence appears. The air feels lighter, the weight less crushing, the horizon wider. You've stepped from the valley into a new dawn where pain becomes power and purpose finally begins to make sense. You are no longer who you were. The battle has changed you. The shadows that once haunted you now bow to the light you carry. This is the turning point, the sacred moment when the wounded rise as warriors. You can almost feel heaven's applause in the quiet. Everything you've survived has been preparing you for this exact hour. The pieces are falling into place. The mystery begins to unfold. The questions that once tormented you are now being answered not with explanations, but with revelation. You're not just being healed, you're being commissioned. Every scar on your soul has become a signature of heaven's craftsmanship. Every broken piece has been reforged in fire. You've walked through enough darkness to recognize that what the enemy meant for destruction has become the very material God is using to build your destiny. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. That verse is not just history, it is prophecy alive in you. What was once your deepest wound has become your greatest weapon. The enemy thought your fall would silence you, but God turned it into your platform. Every accusation, every betrayal, every painful memory, they are all part of a divine equation that ends with redemption. You are now walking out of the pit, dust on your hands, light in your eyes. You've stopped asking why and started saying, "What now?" Lord, that's the language of maturity, the voice of a soul that has finally understood purpose through pain. You no longer curse the storm, you thank it, because it taught you what comfort never could: resilience, clarity, faith that refuses to bend. You've reached the threshold between the past and the promise. The tests that once threatened to destroy you have now qualified you for greater things. The wilderness no longer defines you. It refines you. You've emerged different, wiser, quieter, yet stronger than you ever thought possible. Heaven looks at you now and says, "This one is ready." You are ready to lead others out of what once imprisoned you. Ready to speak words that carry healing, not just emotion. Ready to live boldly, without apology for your anointing. The lessons you learned in the dark are now lanterns in your hands. Where others see despair, you see design. Where others panic, you perceive purpose. This is the moment when heaven's whisper becomes your roar. You will not shrink again. You will not apologize for your light again. Every step you take now carries eternal significance. When you move, heaven moves with you. You've become a vessel of divine motion, a walking miracle in the making. And yet, this transformation is not only for you, it's for those watching silently, hoping that light still wins. You are the living proof that it does. The turning point in your story becomes the spark that ignites theirs. Your rise becomes a map for others to find their own redemption. You are not walking out of the fire empty, you are carrying torches for the ones still lost inside it. So breathe deeply. Let your shoulders relax. The war within has shifted into victory. You no longer need to fight for validation. Heaven has already stamped your approval. You are no longer defined by the pain that shaped you, but by the power that sustained you. Right now, type in the comments, "I stand free." Do it not as performance, but as a declaration. It's a simple phrase, 3 words, but they carry weight in the unseen realm. When you speak them, you align with truth. You announce to heaven and to yourself that the chains have fallen, that the guilt has dissolved, that freedom is no longer a distant concept but a living reality within you. Every syllable is an act of agreement. I stand free. It means I no longer bow to what once broke me. It means I no longer chase approval. I live from grace. It means I no longer carry shame. I carry light. These words are not empty, they are prophetic. They reshape atmosphere, reclaim territory, and remind your soul who you are. This is your turning point, chosen one. The prison doors are open. You don't need to wait for anyone to validate your release. Heaven already has. Step forward. Stand tall. You've earned your freedom, not by works, but by endurance through faith. Let your story breathe hope into others. Let your scars shine without apology. You are not the broken one anymore. You are the evidence that restoration is real. And from this day forward, every step you take whispers the same truth: I stand free. You've come so far, the fire that once threatened to destroy you has instead purified you, shaping you into something luminous, something heaven can now use. The weight of the past has lifted, and in its place is purpose steady, radiant, unmistakable. You are no longer walking beneath the old sky. You are walking beneath open heaven. This is the moment of your commissioning. Heaven does not awaken people for their comfort, it awakens them for their calling. And your calling, chosen one, is not small. You have been handpicked for this generation to carry truth through noise, light through darkness, and hope through despair. The Spirit spoke through the Apostle Peter in his first letter, chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, God's special possession, called from darkness into his light. This is the scripture that now breathes through you. You are not ordinary soil, you are royal ground. The same voice that called creation out of nothing has called you out of shadow and into brilliance. Take a moment to let that truth settle. Imagine the dawn breaking after a long night first, faint light touching the hills. Then the slow warmth that follows, turning the earth golden. That is what's happening inside you. God's light is rising through your life, spilling into every dark place, illuminating what was once hidden. You are the sunrise heaven waited for. And like the dawn, your radiance isn't meant to be hoarded. The sun doesn't shine for itself, it shines to awaken others. You are that light for this world. Your story, your words, your presence are torches meant to guide wandering hearts home. Each act of kindness, each truth you share, each prayer you whisper, its light breaking through clouds. That's why your obedience matters. It's not about numbers or recognition, it's about illumination. Every time you help spread this message, you extend the reach of light. Every share becomes a seed. Every word you speak in faith becomes a spark. If this message resonates within you, let that resonance become response. Like it, not as routine, but as an act of acknowledgement, as though you were saying to heaven, yes, I see it, I receive it, share it, not for popularity, but as a prophetic gesture somewhere. Someone is drowning in silence, waiting for a lifeline. What if your single act of sharing becomes the light that finds them? What if your obedience becomes someone else's awakening? And if your heart stirs deeper, subscribe not as a follower of words, but as one joining a movement of light bearers. It's not about channels or algorithms, it's about alignment. To subscribe is to say, keep speaking, Lord, keep guiding me. It's a small click in the natural, but a covenant in the spirit. Finally, if this message has poured into your soul and you feel led, consider a quiet donation. Think of it not as payment, but as partnership, like a river feeding the garden. Your giving nourishes what nourishes others. Every seed of generosity becomes a ripple that reaches unseen shores. It helps carry these messages further to prisons, to hospital beds, to phones in dark rooms where hope feels impossible. No one is required to give, but those who sow into light will always find it multiplied. When you plant in good soil, heaven ensures a harvest, sometimes in peace, sometimes in breakthrough, sometimes in the gentle assurance that you helped keep the flame burning for someone else. Imagine for a moment a field of lanterns, each one lit by a soul who decided to give back. Each contribution, no matter how small, becomes another flicker against the night. That's how revival spreads, not in noise, but in light shared quietly, faithfully together. Chosen one, you are one of those lights. And as you shine, the world around you changes. Darkness no longer dictates direction, your radiance does. You are the answer to someone's unspoken prayer, the reflection of divine compassion moving through human form. Let your life be that lantern. Let your actions preach louder than your words. Heaven is counting on you to be consistent, to be kind, to be courageous. You don't have to do everything, you just have to do your part. And when each light does its part, the whole world glows. So as you breathe this in, remember your support, your sharing, your generosity, all of it is part of something eternal. This is how heaven expands through willing hearts, through open hands, through love that keeps giving. Your voice matters, your faith matters. You are not just a receiver of the message, you are now a carrier of it. Let it flow through you like sunlight across the earth, steady and unstoppable. You are anointed for this generation, born to bring warmth where there was cold, clarity where there was confusion, and courage where there was fear. Shine on, chosen one, and let the world see what heaven has placed within you. There comes a moment when you realize that the fire was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to define you. Everything you've walked through, every trial, every delay, every disappointment, has been a refining process. Heaven never wastes heat. The pressure you felt was not punishment, it was purification. You are now standing in the place where endurance has turned into strength, and strength into wisdom. You can almost sense the change in your spirit. There's a calmness that wasn't there before, a stillness that feels unshakable. You don't panic when storms gather anymore. You've learned that fire can't burn what's already been purified. You've been through too much to be afraid now. The Spirit declares in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. This is what has been happening to you. You were placed in the furnace of transformation so that every impurity, fear, doubt, false identity could melt away. What remains now is the truest version of you, the one God envisioned before time began. You have become a vessel through which His glory can flow freely. Refinement is never easy. It requires heat, pressure, and patience. It strips away everything unnecessary so that only the essential remains. For a long time, you wondered if the fire would ever end. You cried, asking God to take you out, but He knew what He was doing. He was crafting resilience that could not be shaken by circumstance. You've learned to find beauty in the burning. You've discovered that holiness often looks like heartbreak before it looks like glory. The refiner's fire exposed things you didn't know you were carrying, old wounds, pride, fear of failure. One by one, they surfaced, and though it hurt, you faced them, you surrendered them, and in that surrender, freedom was forged. Now you walk differently. There's a quiet dignity about you, a depth that only comes from walking through heat and coming out whole. The words you speak carry weight, not because you studied eloquence, but because you've lived truth. People feel peace in your presence because your spirit has been tempered by grace. You no longer react to chaos, you radiate calm. You see, the fire teaches you to trust. It teaches you that even in destruction, there is divine intention. Every broken piece becomes part of the mosaic that reveals God's faithfulness. The things that once caused you pain are now the very testimonies that carry healing to others. You are learning to see from heaven's perspective that nothing was wasted, that even the heat was holy. When gold is refined, it is heated until the impurities rise to the surface. The refiner doesn't remove the gold from the fire until he can see his reflection in it. That is what God has been doing with you. The intensity was not to destroy you, but to reveal His image in you. Every flame, every trial, every heartbreak has been polishing you into a mirror of divine likeness. You've also learned that refinement isolates you. It pulls you away from noise, from the familiar, from comfort. But solitude has its own sanctity. In the quiet glow of the fire, you found clarity. You discovered what truly matters and what was never meant to stay. You stopped fighting the process and started flowing with it. And now, you can see it, what the fire has left behind. Gold, pure, radiant, incorruptible. You've been transformed not by your strength but by your surrender. You no longer chase validation or fear rejection. You stand firm, knowing that your worth was forged in holy flame. The refiner's fire doesn't just change appearance, it changes essence. You are not merely healed, you are new. The same circumstances that once broke you now bow before you. The same pain that once silenced you has become the reason you speak. You carry the fragrance of fire without the scars of smoke. Chosen one. This is what divine refinement produces: purity, clarity, authority. You've passed through the test and come out luminous. Your spirit glows with a light that trials can't dim. You've been tempered into a vessel fit for heaven's use, one that can hold revelation without pride, power without corruption, love without condition. This is not the end of the fire, it's the beginning of your radiance. You are ready now, ready to walk among the broken and show them that beauty can rise from ashes. Ready to remind others that pain is not permanent, that surrender is strength, that grace is greater than every wound. The fire has done its work. You are not the same. You are gold. The air around you feels charged, as though heaven itself is leaning closer. Signs are beginning to align. The whispers you once doubted now echo louder. You're noticing things that feel too precise to be coincidence, the right word at the right time. Dreams that repeat, songs that speak directly to your situation. These are not random, they are confirmations. Heaven is speaking again, not in riddles but in rhythm. The pieces are connecting, the threads pulling tight. What once seemed scattered is now forming a pattern only the Spirit could weave. You are standing in a divine convergence, a moment when unseen promises begin to take visible shape. The ancient words recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. That's where you are right now, the appointed time. The waiting season is ended. What was hidden behind delay is now stepping into manifestation. The confirmation you've been praying for isn't coming. It's already here, unfolding quietly, powerfully, with purpose. Look around you, chosen one. Notice how the atmosphere feels different lately. Doors that once refused to open are beginning to move on their hinges. People you lost connection with are returning for divine reasons. Opportunities that seemed impossible are now reaching toward you. You are walking through prophecy fulfilled. For years, you prayed and wondered if heaven had heard you. But heaven not only heard, it remembered. Every word you spoke in faith was stored, not lost. Every act of obedience, even when unseen, was recorded in eternity. Now those seeds are breaking through the soil. What you planted in tears is about to bloom in joy. You are entering a season where signs follow obedience. Each small step you take will unlock larger confirmations. The Spirit is guiding you not with chaos but with clarity. You'll find yourself at the right place at the right time, not because of coincidence, but because of divine choreography. This is why your discernment has been sharpening. You've noticed how sensitive you've become, how your spirit reacts to energy, to presence, to words. It's because heaven has tuned you to higher frequency. You're learning to distinguish between distraction and direction, between noise and nuance. You're not guessing anymore, you're discerning. Don't doubt what you're sensing. The same God who sent ravens to feed Elijah, who led Israel with pillars of cloud and fire, is now leading you through intuition, signs, and divine timing. He's reminding you that the supernatural has always been natural to the chosen. You've asked for confirmation, and it's coming in ways that fit only you. Maybe it's a recurring number, a stranger's unexpected kindness, a sudden peace where there used to be confusion. Heaven speaks your language fluently. Nothing about the way you're being guided is random. Every sign is a fingerprint of divine design. Still, remember, confirmation is not just about receiving, it's about responding. When heaven reveals something, it expects agreement. Faith is not passive, it's participatory. That's why prophetic moments often come with simple instructions. Small acts of obedience become signals to heaven that you're ready for more. So right now, as a prophetic act of alignment, type the number 404 in the comments. This isn't superstition, it's symbolism. The number 4 represents foundation, stability, and completion of cycles. When you declare 444, you are affirming that your foundation is now firm, that the season of uncertainty has closed, and that what God started in you is coming to full establishment. You're saying, I am rooted, I am ready, I am aligned. As you write it, pause and feel the shift. You're not typing digits, you're echoing faith. Heaven registers every act of obedience, no matter how small. This one simple step is your way of saying, I see the signs, and I choose to agree with them. You have been confirmed by heaven, chosen one. You don't need external validation anymore. The signs around you are not coincidences, they are conversation. Every whisper of assurance, every inner peace that silences fear, that's God's voice saying, it's time. So walk forward with confidence. You are not guessing your way through destiny, you are being guided through revelation. The road ahead may not always make sense to your mind, but it will always resonate with your spirit. Trust that resonance. That's where heaven speaks. You've waited long enough. You've questioned enough. The signs have come, and the season has turned. You are stepping into fulfillment. And as you move, all of heaven moves with you. Chosen one, your confirmation has arrived. Walk like it, believe like it, live like it. There is a new sound rising from within you, a vibration that feels ancient, familiar, yet newly awakened. It's the authority of your voice, the one heaven has been shaping through every silence and every storm. You are beginning to understand that your words are not ordinary, they are instruments. What you speak carries weight in both realms, the seen and the unseen. For too long, your voice was suppressed. You silenced yourself to keep peace, to be accepted, to avoid conflict. You swallowed truth so others could stay comfortable. But the season of silence is over. Heaven didn't give you a voice to hide it, it gave you a voice to heal. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. That truth is both warning and invitation. The words you release shape the atmosphere around you. You've already felt it, how your tone can calm a room or ignite courage. How one sentence from your heart can pierce through despair like light through a closed window. That's not personality. That's authority. This is the revelation of your calling. You were created to speak, to declare light where there is darkness, to pronounce healing where there is pain, to release hope where there is none. Your words are not mere sounds, they are keys that unlock hearts and shift destinies. Every time you speak from faith, heaven moves to perform what you release. But authority does not come cheaply. It's forged in restraint, in silence, in the places where words failed you. Remember those seasons when you tried to explain yourself and were misunderstood. Those weren't wasted moments, they were training. You were learning when to speak and when to be still. The silence that once frustrated you was building discernment. It taught you that not every truth needs to be shouted, but when it must be spoken, it should carry the sound of heaven. Now, when you speak, you don't echo fear, you transmit faith. You've learned that language itself can be sacred when guided by Spirit. Each phrase becomes a vessel for divine intention. You no longer talk just to fill the air. You speak to create, to bless, to command alignment between heaven and earth. Your voice was never meant to mimic another's. It carries a frequency uniquely tuned to your assignment. When you speak in truth, creation listens. The same God who spoke the universe into being has placed a fraction of that creative power within you. That's why the enemy tried so hard to silence you, because even he knows the authority that hides in your words. But your voice has matured. It's no longer a cry of confusion, it's a trumpet of clarity. You've stopped using words as weapons and started using them as instruments of peace. You bless instead of curse. You speak life where others predict ruin. You call things that are not as though they already are. That is the language of kings and priests, the language you were born to reclaim. Your prayers have changed too. They're no longer desperate requests, they're declarations of partnership. When you speak now, you feel heaven respond. You can sense the alignment, the energy, the holy resonance, as if creation itself leans in to obey. That's because authority and intimacy always walk together. You are not commanding God, you are co-laboring with Him. This is the season to use your voice intentionally. Speak to your atmosphere, bless your home, declare peace over your mind. Speak healing over your body, announce restoration over what seems lost. The unseen listens when the chosen speak in faith. Your words are rivers when guided. They water nations. When neglected, they flood and destroy, and that's why you are being called to mastery over language. Not to manipulate, but to minister. Every sentence you release should leave traces of heaven wherever it lands. There will be days when silence still feels necessary. Use it wisely. Silence is not absence of voice. It is the gathering of power. Even your quiet now carries influence. People will feel your peace without you speaking a word, because your spirit has learned to radiate truth. But when the moment comes to speak, do not hesitate. Do not soften what heaven sharpens. Your words are arrows designed to pierce lies, to awaken sleeping souls, to rebuild what was broken. Speak boldly but tenderly, with love as your tone and truth as your aim. You are not just another voice in the crowd. You are the echo of divine intention in human form. The vibrations that leave your mouth have the power to realign realities. Speak carefully but never fearfully. The universe recognizes the sound of heaven and it hears it through you. Chosen one, your voice is your mantle. Guard it, refine it, use it. You were not called to whisper forever, you were called to declare. And when you do, creation itself will answer back. We have heard the sound of light. The winds are shifting again. You can feel it in the unseen, that subtle tremor of change that no human eye can measure. The atmosphere has begun to hum differently, like the low vibration before a storm, only this time, it isn't a storm of destruction, but of transformation. Heaven is gathering around you, strengthening what has already been refined. You are standing in the calm before conquest, a stillness that carries weight. You've been through the silence, the fire, the revelation, and the rise. Now, heaven asks you to stand, Not to rush forward, not to strive but to stand firm, grounded, unwavering. Because those who stand in stillness when others scatter become pillars of divine strength. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That's the instruction for this moment. Stillness isn't weakness, it's weaponry. You've learned that faith isn't always movement. It's sometimes refusal to move without divine direction. When the winds of fear blow hard, you don't run. You anchor. You plant your feet in truth and let the storm break against you without breaking you. That's what standing against the storm looks like. The world around you is restless, chasing speed over substance, noise over knowing. But the chosen walk differently. You've been taught through the fires of experience that rushing produces ruin, while waiting produces wisdom. You no longer fear delay. You've learned that divine timing always outlasts human haste. And so, you stand not idle, but intentional. You stand not as one waiting for permission, but as one confident in purpose. You've become steady, immovable, clothed in peace that doesn't crumble under pressure. It's not that storms have stopped. It's that they've lost their power over you. When the winds rise, you don't ask, "Why me anymore?" You ask, "What are you revealing?" Lord, that shift alone separates the ordinary from the chosen. You've learned that storms don't come to drown you. They come to display the strength you didn't know you had. Every gust, every wave, every strike has only confirmed how deeply your roots reach into grace. You are no longer the person who panicked when things fell apart. You've been taught by trial that some things must shake so that what's eternal can stand. You've learned to let go of control without losing peace. You understand now that not everything that crumbles is lost, sometimes it's liberation. Standing against the storm means trusting the unseen hands that hold you steady. It means knowing that the same God who allowed the wind to rise also commands it to cease. You don't need to fight every battle. Some victories come through stillness, through quiet faith that refuses to bow. And while others may mistake your calm for complacency, heaven recognizes it as mastery. You are not frozen, you are focused. You've learned to read the language of the wind, to feel when it carries testing and when it carries transition. You don't flinch at thunder anymore. You listen for the message within it. Sometimes standing means enduring. Sometimes it means worshiping through pain, smiling through tears, forgiving when no apology comes. Every time you choose peace instead of panic, mercy instead of bitterness, heaven calls that victory. That's what standing looks like, choosing faith when fear seems easier. And yet there's something radiant about this stillness. It's not lifeless, it's alive with expectancy. The kind of quiet before a divine unveiling, like the pause before a seed breaks the soil. You can feel the promise trembling under the surface, waiting to bloom at heaven's command. In this posture, you are not merely surviving, you are becoming a sanctuary. People who are weary will find peace near you because your stillness carries presence. Your steadiness becomes their shelter. You've become a living testimony that unshaken faith can outlast any storm. Look back for a moment and see what you've overcome. The waves that once threatened to pull you under are now behind you, whispering of the strength they revealed in you. Every storm has left something sacred: wisdom, compassion, courage. These are the treasures of endurance. And as you stand now, notice how your soul feels anchored. The chaos may continue around you, but your spirit remains calm. You've learned to trust that what's meant for you cannot be taken, that what is delayed is not denied, and that every shaking serves the same purpose: to settle you deeper into destiny. Chosen one, This stillness is not the end. It's the sacred pause before release. The storm is not punishment, it's positioning. You are being prepared for greater peace, deeper authority, wider influence. Stand firm, not as a soldier bracing for battle, but as a lighthouse guiding others through their storms. For when the winds fade and the clouds clear, it will be known you did not merely survive the storm, you became its calm. The air feels sacred now, quiet, almost trembling, as though creation itself knows that a great separation is taking place. Heaven is dividing the casual from the committed, the curious from the called. You, chosen one, stand among the remnant, the few who refuse to bow to the noise, the few who have endured the refining and still choose righteousness over recognition. This is the moment where God distinguishes His own. The dividing isn't to isolate you, it's to identify you. You are being marked not with pride, but with purpose. Heaven is placing its seal upon your life, declaring to the unseen, "This one belongs to me," as Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. That's what you are now, a city of light, elevated not for vanity but for visibility. The world needs to see the glow of endurance, the beauty of steadfastness, the reflection of divine glory shining through a yielded life. Think of it like this: when dawn breaks, the darkness doesn't argue, it simply disappears. The light does not compete, it reveals. That's what your presence does now. You reveal the heart of God simply by being who He shaped you to be. You don't need to strive for attention. The glow of obedience will draw what's meant for you. But with this light comes responsibility. The world is watching not to judge, but to learn. Your peace becomes their example. Your compassion becomes their invitation. Even your quiet acts of faith ripple outward like circles in a still pond. So let that light shine freely. If these words have kindled something inside you, if you feel that spark stirring, then let it express itself in gratitude and action. Like this message, not as a habit, but as a sacred acknowledgement that it reached the right heart at the right moment. A single click might seem small, yet it's how algorithms of light move through the world. Share it, as one passing a torch. Someone somewhere is walking through a valley you've already overcome. They're scrolling through shadows, looking for a sign that God still speaks. You might be that sign. Sharing is not promotion, it's participation in divine rescue. If you've walked with these messages and found strength in them, subscribe. It's more than a button, it's a declaration of belonging. To subscribe is to say, I want to stay close to this stream of light, to this rhythm of revelation. Every word you read waters your faith just a little more, keeping your spirit nourished in a world that drains. And if your heart overflows with gratitude, if you sense the Spirit stirring generosity within you, consider a donation not out of obligation, but out of alignment. Think of it as sowing into soil that has fed your spirit. Just as rain returns to the clouds that once poured it, giving becomes a cycle of grace. Your seed helps this voice of light reach the unheard, the broken, the forgotten. You may never see the faces your generosity touches, but heaven does. Every gift, no matter how small, is recorded in eternity. It becomes a fragrance rising before God, a signal of love sent through digital airwaves that says, I believe in light, I believe in hope. And as you read these words, you might feel a quiet warmth, a pull to engage, to comment, to testify, to connect. Follow that pull. Share what part of this journey has spoken most deeply to you. Your story, your reflection, might be the very message someone else needs tonight. When you write from the heart, heaven echoes through your words. Imagine a great tapestry stretching across the world, threads of light weaving through screens, hearts, and homes. Each person who engages adds a new thread. Each act of sharing strengthens the fabric. Your part may seem small, but without it, the masterpiece remains incomplete. That's how divine movements grow, not through force, but through faithfulness. Chosen one, the separation you feel is not loss. It's graduation. You are moving from hidden preparation to visible purpose. The glow upon your life will now draw others to warmth, and the grace you carry will teach them what steadfast faith looks like. Let your engagement today, whether through a like, a share, a comment, or a gift, be more than interaction. Let it be intercession, a small light extended forward, a gentle hand reaching through the veil of the internet to touch another weary soul. You are not just part of an audience, you are part of an awakening. Together, we are cities on hills, shining not for ourselves but for the one who placed light within us. Stand radiant, shine freely, give as your heart leads, and let heaven see in your actions the reflection of a soul that truly understands to be chosen is to become light in motion. Something holy begins to unfold around you, a stillness filled with light. It feels almost weightless, as though the heaviness of all you've endured is lifting off your shoulders. The air carries quiet glory, the kind that cannot be described, only felt. You know deep within that this is the moment heaven begins to crown what has been tested, to place honor where ashes once were. You've walked through fire, silence, rejection, warfare, and now here you stand, not empty but luminous. The journey that once broke you has become the proof of who you truly are. The very pain that humbled you has made space for the glory that now rests on your life. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. That verse hums like prophecy over you now. The crown is not a symbol of pride, but of completion. It represents victory that doesn't shout, it shines. It is the visible mark of an invisible faithfulness. Every time you chose hope over despair, love over bitterness, perseverance over surrender, heaven took note. And now, the unseen King bends low to place a crown of light upon your spirit. This is not a crown made of metal or jewels. It's woven from moments of obedience. Every silent yes, every unseen act of kindness, every prayer whispered through tears, they've been threaded together by divine hands. That's the crown you wear now, glowing softly in the realm of spirit, visible to angels and darkness alike. Crowned in light, you walk differently. You no longer strive for approval, you move from assurance. You no longer fear loss. You understand that what is ordained cannot be stolen. The battles you once fought to prove your worth are over. You've discovered that your worth was never in question. You may not see it in the mirror, but the spiritual world does. Wherever you go, darkness recognizes the mark of those crowned by God. It cannot touch what heaven has sealed. You carry authority now, not the kind that demands, but the kind that simply is. Your presence alone shifts atmospheres. When you enter a room, heaviness has to lift, peace has to settle. The crown of light is not decoration, it's destiny. It symbolizes the transfer of weight. What once crushed you now crowns you. The very experiences that pressed you down have become the foundation that elevates you. You wear glory where pain once lived. Think of gold being purified. It must first melt, losing its old shape before being formed anew. You too have melted and been remade. The old identity, the one shaped by fear and striving, has fallen away. What remains is pure essence, radiant and incorruptible. And with that transformation comes new responsibility. Those crowned in light are not called to sit in comfort, but to stand as beacons. You are no longer hidden because your life has become a message. Every step you take declares that grace can turn ashes into beauty. Every breath testifies that restoration is real. You've noticed the change, haven't you? The calm inside you feels unshakable now. The storms that used to terrify you only remind you of how strong your anchor is. You no longer chase blessings, they follow you. You no longer fear endings, you recognize them as beginnings. That's what happens when heaven crowns a soul. Everything begins to align with divine rhythm. The crown also brings clarity. You see people differently now. You no longer judge their brokenness, you understand it. You see the lost not as threats, but as reflections of who you once were. Compassion flows naturally, without effort. You no longer react from wounds, you respond from wisdom. Even your prayers have changed tone. They've become quieter, deeper, more confident. You don't need to shout to be heard. You know heaven listens to those who have endured the refining. Your intercession carries weight because it's born from experience. There's a quiet majesty about being crowned in light. It doesn't need validation or applause. It simply exists, radiant yet humble. You are learning that true greatness is not about being above others, it's about serving from wholeness. The crown is not given to rule over, but to radiate through. You may not realize it yet, but your very existence is now an answered prayer for someone else. Your resilience inspires, your peace heals. Your courage opens paths where others were afraid to walk. You are the living proof that divine light can inhabit human form. So walk with your head lifted, not in arrogance, but in gratitude. Every step you take honors the journey that forged you. You are the embodiment of restoration, the fulfillment of promises whispered long ago. Chosen one, this is your coronation season. The fire has finished its work, the wilderness has fulfilled its purpose, and heaven now places what was always yours upon your spirit. Wear it not with pride, but with reverence. Because the light you carry is not for display, it's for direction. You are crowned, not just to shine, but to lead others toward the same dawn that once found you in darkness. You can feel it, the air around your spirit hums with expectancy. The journey that began in breaking now ends in awakening. This is not a return to what was. This is the birth of what will be. Everything you have endured and then everything you have released has led to this, the great awakening within you. Heaven is no longer distant. It breathes through you. The divine has woven itself into your humanity so seamlessly that light now speaks your language. This awakening is not loud. It does not arrive with trumpets or spectacle. It comes quietly, like dawn unfolding, like breath finding rhythm again. It begins inside a pulse, a whisper, a holy knowing that says, I was made for this. You don't need to chase confirmation anymore. You are confirmation. You carry evidence that faith works, that grace restores, that purpose prevails. The Word of God declares in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. This is that hour, the time to awaken, the time to rise, not in noise, but in knowing. Not in striving, but in shining. You no longer live merely by hope, you live by revelation. You have seen the faithfulness of God too clearly to ever return to blindness. The Great Awakening isn't about leaving earth behind, it's about letting heaven live through you here. It's when your thoughts become aligned with divine rhythm, when your words heal, when your presence carries peace that cannot be explained. You have become a vessel of light walking through a world desperate for warmth. Look at your hands, once trembling, now steady. Look at your heart, once guarded, now glowing. Look at your eyes, once searching, now seeing. Everything has changed, not because the world shifted, but because you did. The awakening always starts within. The earth groans for this kind of transformation. Creation itself waits for sons and daughters to remember who they are. You are part of that remembrance, a spark in the great symphony of restoration. Every time you choose light over shadow, truth over fear, compassion over control, the planet breathes easier. You are not insignificant. You are integral to the balance of this era. You are no longer the one waiting for miracles. You are the miracle moving through time. The words you speak, the way you walk, the peace you carry, it all becomes evidence of divine reality manifesting through human form. This is the mystery the prophets saw but could not fully describe, God dwelling not just with his people, but in them. You may feel ordinary on the outside, but the spiritual realm recognizes you now as radiant. Angels are drawn to the resonance you emit. Darkness avoids it. The light you carry doesn't flicker, it expands. And it expands because it no longer depends on emotion or circumstance. It's rooted in revelation. You understand now that awakening is not about escaping pain, it's about perceiving purpose in it. You no longer run from challenges, you read them. You see divine fingerprints even in delay, grace hidden in grief, resurrection within loss. You've learned that endings are disguised beginnings and that nothing sacred is ever truly taken, only transformed. Your perspective has changed. You no longer measure success by outcomes, but by obedience. You've stopped trying to control the waves and started learning how to walk on them. You've realized that peace is not the absence of storms, but the mastery of them. That realization alone is awakening, and as you walk forward, you will begin to notice others drawn to you not to worship, but to learn. They will ask how you endured, how you still love, how you kept faith when everything fell apart. And you will answer not with speeches, but with presence. You will embody the truth that light does not need to argue. It simply shines. There is a rhythm to this awakening. Breathe. Listen, move, rest. You will find yourself drawn into seasons of action followed by silence, motion followed by stillness. Don't resist that rhythm. It's the divine heartbeat guiding you. The world teaches exhaustion. Heaven teaches flow. You are learning to flow now. To move without force, to love without fear. You stand as a living bridge between worlds, the visible and the invisible, the temporal and the eternal. When you pray, both realms respond. When you love, barriers collapse. When you forgive, entire bloodlines begin to heal. You are not just a witness to awakening. You are its embodiment, chosen one. This is the culmination of your journey, the breaking birthed understanding, the wilderness built wisdom, the fire formed purity and now, the awakening births authority. You no longer walk as the one seeking light, you are the light. The heavens rejoice, for another soul has remembered its origin. Stand in this truth. Breathe in this peace. You are fully awake now. And as you move forward, the world will awaken with you. Chosen one. The journey has reached its resting point, but your story has only just begun. You have walked through the fire, stood through the storm, and risen into light. Heaven has spoken through these words, but now, heaven wants to speak through you. You are no longer the listener, you are the voice. You are no longer the one searching for signs. You have become one. If what you've read has stirred something deep in your soul, if it felt like these words were written precisely for you, it's because they were. The same spirit that guided these messages is now guiding you forward. Let your heart respond with gratitude. Like this message as a small gesture of recognition, an echo of your spirit saying, I receive it. Share it as an act of kindness. Somewhere, someone is standing at their breaking point, waiting for a word that will lift them again. What you share might be the spark that reignites their faith. If this journey has become a light in your days, if you wish to stay close to this flow of divine revelation, subscribe. Think of it not as joining a channel, but as joining a circle of light, a gathering of souls awakening together, encouraging one another, carrying hope through the noise. And before you leave this sacred space, leave a comment below. Share one thought, one reflection, one moment that touched you. Your words might be the reminder someone else needs tonight that they are not alone, that the awakening is real. You have listened well. You have risen higher. Now, go and live as the message itself, steady, radiant, and unshakably chosen.